Welcome to my playthrough of Heaven Will Be Mine. I think we're going to finish Luna Terra's route today, but that sounds like it will be a long time, so let's just get right into it. So, we've got some mail to look at. An interesting pair. Okay, I mean, I haven't... just looking at how this starts at least, this feels like it's a weird archetypal sort of conversation. Like, it's not tied to specific characters. You could maybe project it onto any pair you like. Let's read it, let's see. Subject: Lost Story. Origin: ambient tidal forces. Oh. So it's like psychic residue. Oh, that's interesting. If I'm understanding that right. Author: a rivalry. I was waiting for this chance. Me too. Thanks for obliging. Anytime. But I'd love for this to be the last time. Oh yeah? Do you have a plan for arranging that? Or are we just going to fight forever, without end? Do you win when your win ratio tips over 50%? It's climbing for sure. I can't deny it. You're slipping. Getting lazy? I'm just bored. I don't want to win an argument. I don't want to win a fight. I just wish you were dead. Okay? Me too. I can't kill you, and I don't really want to either. Well, same. Man, don't talk like Neath. You know that pisses me off. Okay, so this is a specific person. Don't say their name then, maybe. Maybe they died because they were tired of us having the same fight over and over again forever. Hey, you're kidding? They lived for it. Man, what a bitch. I know, right? I really miss them. I really miss them. Me too. Wanna fight about it? Man, jeez. Sure, I get it. Yeah, that did seem... It was a specific instance, so this is like an echo of a real specific situation between other people, but is also like... It is archetypal in another sense, in that it's a recurring kind of conflict. Like, this has happened before. The trio that this game is about, they're not the only ones to have this sort of complex interpersonal conflict. So I'm curious if the other one's going to be basically the same. Okay, so the next one. Subject: fuck space. Origin: ambient tidal information. Author: a loss. You know what? Fuck space. It is complete garbage. The secret no one here ever wants to admit is that space is boring and empty, and it's desolate and lifeless. It's not romantic, and it doesn't care about us. They embellish dull grey photographs of dust with beautiful colours to pull our heartstrings, but the reality is nothing but different shades of grey, the palest colours. But you know what? That's not even the most embarrassing part. The most embarrassing part is that humans can't do anything better than imagine space as just like Earth, but a little different, filled with people who are like us, but a little different. Hey, guess what? That's just Earth, idiots. You're just projecting. You're projecting. What do you need space? Why do you need space to think about Earth? Why are you ignoring all of the people and places on Earth that are like you, but a little different? Why is that dream more important than us? We're supposed to have dreams, but we're not supposed to just live in them. That's why I'm breaking up. I want to go home. Huh. This complicates things. It's only one email, so I don't want to read too much into it, but this is almost an implication that wanting to settle space is kind of... Escapism is not quite the right word. Basically, the equivalent of giving up and moving away and just going... This place just can't be dealt with. I'm out. Goodbye. When, in particular, this is talking about projecting Earth into space. Space is just a vastly different environment to Earth. So it's not really comparable to say that you want to go to space because your slightly different understanding of yourself or the world or society is incompatible with Earth. Because this complicates the factions who want to move on to being in space, who want to divest themselves of Earth, or because this mostly Cradle's Graces who kind of want to make that separation clean and make space their own separate place. Yeah, I know it's, as I assume it's meant to be, this is interesting context to have when moving on to the next mission. Okay, sorry. She's going to talk to me about the Celestial Mechanics pilot that I am almost 100% loyal to, whatever that technically means. Or aligned, I guess. Loyalty is not really... Well, they refer to loyalty elsewhere, but I don't got that. So, you've had more than a few fights with that Celestial Mechanics pilot at this point, haven't you? Yes, fights. Exactly. You've really met your match. In terms of troubleness, I think she has me beat. Did you know her, Saturn? The Generation 3 pilot. Explicit generation counts. I think that's helpful. I was only in charge of combat operations, and the 3rd generation never saw combat, even against the existential threat. Of course, I knew her, though. She was one of Iapetus' top candidates. He used a variety of methods to artificially jumpstart extreme tidal sensitivity in otherwise unremarkable pilot candidates. I thought none of it worked. The first chip selves had manual controls. To bridge the gap between your intentions and the energy of the tidal reactor is a complex language, a conversation between yourself and the machine with advanced mathematics. You use your hands, but it is a fundamentally mental approach. Dr. Nix wanted to achieve communion through the soul. Iapetus, however, felt that direct interface with the body would be the most efficient. Teach the body, and the mind and soul would follow. It sounds dangerous. Also, made up. It's all made up. There's nothing inherently wrong in using the body as a primary medium. However, he inflicted the intentions of the ship selves on the pilots, rather than teaching them to express their intentions outward. We need to digest this a bit. So the first ship selves, which is, I believe, what Luna Terra is, I mean, it has to be, they always talk about Mercuricium being one of the oldest. It's extremely manual. It's a complex language, but you gotta work it out. You just work it out and then you can do it. Dr. Nix, and I think this is supposed to be implying Cradle's Graces as kind of a second step, wanted to achieve communion through the soul, so just by a much more abstract and emotional interface, being able to directly engage with the ship self in that way. And Iapetus, who worked with Saturn, felt that direct interface would be most efficient. So I mean, that's not manual. Is this talking about like literally plugging into the ship self in a much more like wired in kind of way? And is the I read the implication there being that it's not just, oh, by being plugged in you can control effectively. Plugging in will shape the mind and soul. Like plugging in will shape your body, which will in turn shape the mind and soul to follow along. Because yeah, he inflicted the intentions of the ship selves on the pilots, which matches with what I said, that plugging them in, whatever, if it's actually plugging in or whatever he did meant that the ship selves imprint upon the pilots, rather than the pilots being taught how to express their intentions outwardly. The part about this that's particularly interesting is trying to fit it into the metaphor of ship elves as an outward expression of identity. Like, to me, that sounds like basically the equivalent of if you've picked a label that you think describes yourself and you then expand to fit the mold of that label more than you're trying to figure out what specifically fits you. So I mean, to take a simple example, if you think you might be asexual, instead of exploring what feelings you specifically have that could align with that label, you instead go, I am asexual, therefore I must have these behaviors, identities, or notions associated with asexuality in general. Even though there's lots of different ways people have found that they're asexual, there's lots of different expressions of what that can mean, and sometimes you can apply a label to yourself because it seems true, or you can apply a label to yourself that seems true at one point in your life. Things could change, your understanding could develop, you could find alternative ways to express things that don't invalidate your previous life experience, but do change how you understand yourself. But if the intention of something is being inflicted upon you, like inflicted is a very loaded word to use in this case, that's changing you, but it's changing you without it being driven by yourself. You yourself are not driving this kind of development. He wanted subjects, not actors. It's impossible to read the rhetoric of this methodology any other way. Was Saturn particularly resistant? Is that why she was downgraded from primary candidate? No, she was intensely loyal, like another pair of hands and eyes for Iapetus. It was the opposite. She accepted all of those intentions perfectly. She was perfect. You see the problem, don't you? A doll like that doesn't have the will to compete in title conflict. Why are you telling me this? He realized in the end, he had created someone as boring as he was. It took a long time for you to learn how to be a person, after having been forced to be someone else. Yep, okay. Pretty confident in the read I just had. Don't forget how to be tender to Hellions, Luna Terra. Channel closed. No matter how exactly this ends up shaking out and my understanding develops, Luna Terra is just the most experienced gay in this trio that really needs to teach the other two who are still figuring some shit out, even if they have very strong convictions about things. Alright. I mean, as fun structurally as it would be to end with the one that sounds like it's a just hangout, I both assume there will still be a fight involved here, and also I really do have to end with the final meeting with Saturn, where I'm going to hit 100% because I'm just going to align with celestial mechanics again. Well, I assume maybe I won't hit 100, maybe it's gonna leave a percentage, because I'm assuming I'll also have a final decision of who I ultimately want to be aligned with. But I'm gonna hit the max I can get with this faction for sure. And unfortunately I cannot do that with Cradle's Graces. So let's do that one first. Give me the moon. It's time to move to the future. Peacefully or painfully. No factions. No dreams. Just two girls lost and entwined in the warm summer of the moon's day. Launch. New orders, Luna Terra. Get out for a while. What? Oh, really? You don't need me on standby? Yes, but you're making everyone anxious. The pacing and sighing is becoming melodramatic. Even worse, some of the girls are beginning to find it very attractive. Show them some mercy and give yourself a break, please. Sorry about that. I just snapped at one of the deck mechanics. I am getting tired. I know, and it's given her a disgusting crush on you. So please leave before more of my crew become compromised. I still don't get why that happens. That you don't is less of a saving grace than you might think. It's good that you're not full of yourself, but you have no awareness of your own value. I'm aware. It's not a mystery to me why someone would like to earn the approval of someone who treats them as if they don't deserve it. It's an intoxicating feeling. So why do they think I wouldn't want that too? I am just as greedy and childish. It annoys me. I'm not an invincible monster. I need the same things. Oh, grow up. You're no different than any of my other girls. You're the only one who thinks you actually have to be this made-up person. What? You think you're going to teach Pluto to not take on the burdens of those she cares about, when you can't even throw off your own entirely self-inflicted ones? You know, my girls aren't stupid enough to not see what a fool you are alongside your strength. They wouldn't find you so charming otherwise. Didn't you learn anything from your terrible relationship with my tragically pathetic niece? Here we go. Are we gonna get some Halimede? Are we gonna get some family drama here? I learned not to pretend I could give someone what she wanted. Wrong. You should have learned that just because someone likes you doesn't mean they don't also know you're an idiot. No one needs you to be stronger. You need to let yourself be weaker. Do that quickly, so I don't have to hear any more complaints from you or those girls. Aren't you tired of hearing them yourself? I mean, this is interesting. This is the first time... I mean, maybe I'm just forgetting. This feels like the first time where personal reasons, character-wise, I would be motivated to pick loyalty, because Europe is right. Luna Terra needs to get over herself a little bit and just be vulnerable, basically, and stop putting on a mask. So, though, honestly, I don't think given these two options, I'll make up and forgive being the loyal one, or fight until we love each other being the betrayal for Cradle's Graces. Making up and forgiving each other isn't really actually dealing with a personal thing, now that I think about it. It kind of had a knee-jerk reaction of feeling like that was supposed to be how she would learn her lesson. That's not true. She needs to have a proper fight. Like, the way these mech fights are characterized, she needs to actually get stuck into one of these. Which I don't think this is necessarily going to do either. But my brief thought that loyalty would make sense, it's gone. Thankful for our Cradle's Graces, but we're not coming back. Oh, that's a good background. On the far side of the moon, there's still some part of the dead, empty, cratered Luna left. As the terraforming engines sweep in, they turn Earth's satellite to another part of Earth. Until that time comes... Oh no. My itchy, clicky finger. Until that time comes, this place is free of Earth's pull. A place still perfect for a quiet moment to happen, in an empty clearing surrounded by weight and life. It's the perfect place for them to fight like ships do. The fighting that ships do, not the fighting that people do. In the naked sunlight and nothing else, Pluto looks so beautiful, spinning tiny galaxies with Krun Makula, the way she was always meant to. Of all the prototypes she piloted over the years, none suited her like this. From the awkward and embarrassing creature she used to be, to the woman who promised Earth there could be a new type of human. Yeah, stuff like this about Pluto is why the identity read makes a lot of sense to me. The ship selves are about actualizing into who you, not like a singular true self, but into a more developed sense of who you are, compared to, especially with Pluto, they talk about an awkward uncertainty from before and just not knowing who you were and being like an awkward and embarrassed creature. That's not even a person. No longer the priceless tool of selfish adults, the pawn of space's dreamers, the princess who can remake her body out of tidal forces and stardust. She's just Pluto. In the naked sunlight and nothing else, even in this worn and wounded ship, Luna Terra shines like she always has, even with the hurt she has. One way or another, someday or another, every girl bleeds. And her mare Chrysium suffers alongside her. The drip of her wound spins like a red constellation in 0G. She's rusted, but some parts of her will never rust. The two of them have fought so much, so this shouldn't be a fight. With nothing and no one else to think about, there's no reason to fight. In the naked sunlight, for once, don't fight. Instead of fighting like people do, fight like ships do. Fight like plastic toys do. Fight like you don't have a body, like you don't hate your body. Fight your way into a new body. Fight like we used to, without trying to win. Fight like we did a long time ago, when they were training us to fight, and all we wanted to do was play. Fight like we did when we didn't have any other way of touching each other. When all we had were lasers and light, tides and time, to say what we wanted to say to each other. I've never really had much of a thought about what tidal forces metaphorically are alluding to. Like, there's a lot of implication that can come from that, but I don't have a read on it. Something to think about. Probably not going to figure it out soon, but going through the next playthrough. I'm not going to go easy. You better not. Since we're not fighting, I really don't want you to hold back. Luna Terra knows a thing or two about fighting in space. Luna Terra wrote the book. It's a kind of predictable story. So Luna Terra makes sure her enemies get sunk. You know this trick, don't you? You've seen Luna Terra pull it so many times. Fire off something to test the waters. Lead the target until they walk right into the shot. You can play that game forever, until they make the first move. Don't let them make that move until you know they won't be expecting what you do next. What you do next can be anything. As long as it's what they're not going to see coming. After you do it, disengage, like passing a secret. You know this one really well, the message in a bottle, slipped between the bullets of hard light. She was the person who taught you how to blow a kiss. But Pluto is the one who learned how to make out. Her ship's so big, it makes Luna Terra look like a toy, but Pluto is even bigger than that. You have to measure in density, not mass. Then you'll understand. Pluto is the center. Luna Terra revolves around Pluto, like she always has. Luna Terra is too close when she tries to pull back from Pluto, and too far when she's trying to close in. She's on a leash that extends through space-time, however Pluto wants. Luna Terra's gravity is the tug that makes the tides go in and out. Pluto's gravity is strong enough to turn Luna Terra into a new shape. Okay, gravity and tides are an obvious connection. We already know gravity is about, like, gravity is kind of almost about culture, or it's about something that pulls you close. So, like, a person pulling you to them with gravity. This is too big to get into now. Let me move on, because I don't have a coherent understanding. Luna Terra didn't invent this, but she loves to struggle through it. She loves to see what she can do, how close she can come, and she comes in so fast. Does so well, but goes too far when Pluto isn't expecting. It's too fast. Way too fast. Pluto's more off guard than Luna Terra expects. Luna Terra's moon of a spear crescents right into Pluto's chest. Luna Terra wants to scream, but she doesn't say anything. It feels deep enough to be scary, and Luna Terra only meant to nick her. What's wrong? We were having so much fun, and you look so scared. Why didn't you block it? Luna, I'm fine, see? You can't hurt me that easy. You're not that strong, and I'll always be alright. Pluto plucks Luna Terra off by the forearm. Gently, with 2 fingers. Like detaching a kitten. Or a bug. Sorry to scare you like that. But you lied. You said you weren't going to hold back. Pluto can seize Luna Terra by both wrists. And she does that. And Luna Terra is quite awestruck by how safe and helpless she feels. The gravity pulling at her from Pluto is gentle, but firm. Fighting ship to ship is the only time Luna Terra doesn't feel naked, but now she finally feels naked there too. It's not so bad though. Sometimes you have to let an animal bite you before it can feel safe. That's a thing you said once. See, I'm learning. I've learned so much. When I said that, I was talking about Mars. And you're just like her. Are you really okay? I really didn't mean to scare you like that. But Luna T, you're always overestimating how capable you are of hurting me. It's fine, I was the one who was dumb. I thought I could scare you, and you were way too smart for it. You did that on purpose, though. You really are amazing. Scary, right? Just like you said. You could be like that too, though. There's still stuff that you could learn from me. Want to be the one to teach me, then? Haha, I'd love to. Here, I'm holding you. Can you feel this? I'm trying. You don't have to try. It shouldn't feel like you're trying. It's either easy or it's nothing. You know, it's harder for me to take it easy than try hard. That's why you're so amazing. I'm so lazy. I never want to work ever. I'm always looking for the easiest way to do things. That's not true. It is. Then why are you so good at everything? I'm not. You are. I'm not, but I can't make you see it, no matter how hard I try. I guess I should give up on trying to make you dislike me. Sorry, you can't win against me. You really are such a sore winner. Now I know how Mars feels. She's right. I am totally insufferable. I'm glad at least someone knows. Oh, please be sure. I noticed too. Excuse me, of course, but you don't care. Of course I care. I love you. Can you feel it now? I really didn't think I would. But I do. Tell me what it feels like. It feels like you're holding me. What's it like when I hold you? I don't know. Am I imagining it? But I can't be. It still feels like metal. I didn't think it would. But it also feels tender. Exactly like it would if you held me on Earth. This is why I'm not as strong as you. If I really thought we were never going to get the chance to touch, I don't know how I could stand it. Why are you holding me so tight? I'm feeling smug. Now look, who's the one caught now? I guess I lose. You totally lose. Don't tell anyone. Are you kidding? I'm going to brag about this for the rest of my life. Day 8. Well, at least she was willing to give it in a little bit there. I do want to briefly touch on the kind of unresolved conversation I had in the middle there. So gravity, as before, been about kind of the pull of both people and culture, whereas culture is basically just people as a whole, or people as a collective. Earth has a gravity that's about the culture of Earth, which is about kind of society, what Earth itself compels you to do. Yeah, gravity about compulsion is probably a good way to think about it. If you are on Earth, there is a gravity to be a certain kind of person. And the lack of gravity in space is about having the freedom to be who you... Again, I don't want to have a conception of true selves, but to be the kind of person you feel like you are, as opposed to the person you are expected to be or compelled to be. And then also individual people can have a gravity where they're kind of compelling things out of you, because relationships define a lot about yourself. Like, you find out who you are through your relationships to other people. So, now about tides. Tides are the changing, shifting of water on Earth based on the position of the moon and how that gravity of the moon pulls water around, as well as I don't know if the sun has any effect on gravity. I don't know if the sun has any effect on tides. I think it's just the moon. Either way, it's about gravity. It's about the shifting water that's getting pulled one way and then another by the gravity of something. So I wonder if the tidal engines are pulled by your own personal gravity? Is it about being able to use your gravity when you're in space to kind of... It's not so much powering these engines, like these engines can power themselves, but you can direct the energy by having that kind of gravity. And at this point it is just guessing whether that's about having a good understanding of yourself, that you can use your own gravity to control this effectively, or is it about having a strong self? I don't know what that would mean. I think that would just again be about confidence. But then, I mean, the other part of it is that with multiple sources of gravity, your relationship to another person can influence your pull on those tides. So specifically having that connection to other people might be a big part of how your tidal engine could work. I think the other two pilots will have a much stronger control over the tidal engine itself. Luna Terra has always been described as very manual, in a kind of first generation, I flick switches and push buttons kind of way, whereas the other two might be a little bit more my brain magic makes the robot go new. So I hope those will kind of expand the metaphor. I'm incredibly satisfied with this being my first run. I feel like this makes the most perfect sense, and I don't know if that's intentional or designed at all, but it's held very true. Okay, so only one email for this. Subject: the existential threat. Origin: pilot program training documentation. Leaked. Author: Memorial Foundation Native Sphere Archives. It was composed of solid light and arrived in multitudes. They never arrived in the same shape, pattern, or texture twice. They were memorable, but indistinct. They were like and unlike things that we have seen on Earth, and they could not be touched, except through gravity. We could not determine where they came from, but they always headed towards Earth. We feared what would happen if they passed into Earth too much to learn what their intentions for coming here were. And our pilots defeated them without fail, without any hesitation, without any resistance, flawlessly, beautifully, obviously. The truth has always been that the existential threat is much weaker than humans, no matter what we call it, and there was a refusal to name precisely at all times the substance and nature of the existential threat. First of all, by referring to it as the existential threat, Memorial Foundation International jargon, rather than by common local cultural names. From the failure of the Scout program on Earth, there was a desire to both separate the pilots as much as possible from earthly preconceptions. We did this to understand the new ways in which our pilots could be human, and we did this also to understand how the existential threat would change in corresponding ways, complementing their new humanity. Existential threats are always weaker than us, but they have ways that we do not, and they are always waiting in the corners of the world, looking to overcome us in other ways. In the case of the existential threat as it existed in space, we created a weapon, the Krun Makula, powerful enough to defeat them once and for all, single-handedly, and we did so, and we lost every reason to be in space, and we ended all mystery and possibility. So it is surprising that in filling the void, it became the pilots who took the role of the existential threat, as is known to occur on rare occasions on Earth. Yeah, nothing like groundbreaking or massively new there. This is kind of covering a lot of ground we knew. This is kind of just laying out the stakes of the existential threat pretty clearly before we go. I guess the new part is the idea that the existential threat was wholly defeated. I think the implication has always been that it could always come back, it could always be there, it could always be more, because it's semi-invented. But I guess the part that says Krun Makula did defeat it soundly somewhat implies that some event must have occurred. So Pluto must have, maybe Krun Makula was piloted by someone else then, but I doubt it. So Pluto presumably had a fight where this happened. Whereas before I'd kind of assumed that the existential threat was so fabricated that it never really had to be addressed in that direct way. Alright. Did you notice, Luna Terra? Our base is now not far from the Sea of Crises, where your ship self was made, and you first sortied. It's nostalgic, isn't it? Ha! It is, isn't it? Reminds me when we were fighting some theoretical, alien, existential threat, and not each other. Would you prefer those days? I don't think so. No, I definitely wouldn't. I like being less stupid. Fighting with people is better than not even thinking about people at all, instead of fantasies. Aren't you going to say, that's still your problem? I know when I drilled you like little soldiers, I taught you the opposite too well, but I wouldn't mind if you had second thoughts. Europa. Do you feel guilty? We should all feel guilty, but me and my peers especially. We caused this conflict to be played out, and we failed to teach you well enough to endure it. The future we had hoped you would live in was much too childish for you. I know. I'm not upset about that, or I never would have come back here, by your side, again. I don't want your guilt, or my guilt. What do you need, Luna Terra? I would like you to give me your orders, without guilt or regret or expectation. Of course. Though I've raised you terribly, Luna Terra, I have also always been quite proud of you. She's always been so good. It's scary. I can't deal with good kids. That was Nyx's job. Ha, true. But I don't hear a reason to trust me. Or are you going to ground me? You're my student, Luna Terra. I don't have to trust you. Trusting you is not my concern. I can't keep you out of trouble anymore, or even tell you what to do. I can only advise my last remaining student. Whether you listen to me or not, or to that girl or not, whether you fulfill your duty to Memorial Foundation or betray us once more. You're getting too permissive in your old age. I've always been permissive, and I've always been old. I thought you said I was in charge. I will advise you no matter what decision you make, Luna Terra. And not quietly. Then what's your advice, since I'm just going to do it? Don't get out of dealing with your ex by indulging your death wish. She's not my ex. Were you not together? Or is it not over? My advice is to not leave things ambiguous this time. Channel closed. So I'm probably thinking too much about structurally how the game itself would work. I don't know which one they're talking about, and that might be the point. But like, they're talking about she's always been so good. It has to be Pluto, presumably. Or Halamede. But no, it can't be Halamede, because then I'm pretty sure Halamede's your ex, Luna Terra. I feel like it's a revisionism at this point to claim that they're not even that much. But maybe they're not. Maybe it was a lot more of a, as Europa said, ambiguous thing. Alright, final mission. Plastic versus metal. Earth has promised to let the children of space sort themselves out, for now, but their machines of war guard the way back home, just in case. When Saturn and Luna Terra meet in a chance encounter, the true terror of humanity stares them down. Launch. The fleets are already in motion. Are you ready? No problem. I'm only worried about that trickster from Celestial Mechanics. No end of trouble. You don't sound too unhappy about that. I suppose that trouble will end soon, one way or another. It's simply recon this time, but it's on the near side of the moon. And Earth military is there, with autonomous devices. They are in very high orbit, but they will descend rapidly if they notice gravitational variability. The ship self is a shape intended for humans to exist in space, outside of Earth's pull. It isn't intended for war. The military is here with that most direct of intentions, so don't let them achieve it. Funny that the planetary sphere doesn't seem to think we're on the same side. There is nothing funny about it. We are not on the same side. We are complicating the problem. We can't let it go as much as Cradle's Graces or Celestial Mechanics can't. We can't let it go as much as Cradle's Graces or Celestial Mechanics can't. Earth has graciously allowed us considerable leeway in dealing with the closing of the space program on our terms. Broken and naive as they find us, Memorial Foundation International begged them to let us try to bring the wayward children back home bloodlessly. So we should be thankful that they are just watching and not descending to rout us. Most of Earth would find any loss of human life to space unacceptable, but less and less of Earth considers us fully human. So the mission isn't just to protect any stragglers from getting themselves killed by the forces we're trying to save them from? You don't think we can trust them? If I trusted them to handle it, I would not have led you, the children of space, to fight this conflict. Do you think we can do it? Bring everyone back to Earth? There's a reason I am not having you interfere with the opening of the gravity well. Everyone will be in one place, at least. What Celestial Mechanics and Cradle's Graces hope for? Hope will be their salvation. Could be ours too. We're on a tight deadline for something that might be that impossible. Win what's in front of you, and worry about that later. Which machine? The gravity well? I assume it must be the gravity well. I mean, like I said, I've just gotta continue siding with Celestial Mechanics. I look forward to the future runs where I'm actually picking between Celestial Mechanics and Cradle's Graces, and there's a little bit more deliberation on my part. But for now, no question. Whoa, it almost seems like it can't be a coincidence bumping into you again. Fancy seeing you here. A likely story. But please stay down, it's closing in. That thing wants to murder us very badly. It wants to kill. Yeah? Aren't you itching to fight it? The autonomous military unit is waiting for opportunities, it seems. But it's really just reacting to conditions and responding with protocol. It's inevitability, gravity, law. Humans can be pretty unambiguous, which is why if you want something done precisely, you must teach it only a sliver of what humans know. If you want someone dead without complication, you need to remove nuance first. It doesn't have any kind of morality system or decision-making process. It's very non-discriminatory. Just gravity and nothing else. It's a gun and not much else. So maybe you should stop harassing it so much? It's annoying though. I want to bully it. I promised that I wouldn't tangle with something if it was really life or death. But now that I'm here, I'm too tempted. I just absolutely want to tear it to pieces. Completely destroy it like it wants to destroy me. You ever feel like that? Even when you're terrified? Especially then. But it's not worth fighting. Not at all. Even a little. It's like fighting gravity or a whole planet. What can you call winning against something like that? There are a million more. You can't have a real argument with something like that. They sent autonomous troops because they didn't want to have one in the first place. So specifically calling fighting an argument? I see that. It just goes to show they really don't care what happens to space or anyone in it. Or they do, and they want us to badly believe they don't. You're gonna hate this, but that makes me wish I could crush them even more. Sorry. There has to be a way, right? Oh, that's cool. Unlike a ship's elf, the autonomous military unit doesn't have a shape that remotely resembles a person. There's no need for that, obviously. You would give something a human shape only if you wanted it to be able to express the fullness of being a human. War has never been fought like that. Military technology is designed to narrow available resources in order to efficiently execute a single specific function. Giant robots have never been practical for war. So many shows getting called out right now. What is necessary is a single vector pointed in a certain... I can't tell which way the typo is here. No, okay. What is necessary is a single vector pointed in a certain inflexible fixed direction. The autonomous military unit may not look human, but it is human. A single uncomplicated human thought. Die. I'm worried that telling you this will just encourage you, so I shouldn't. It feels like a bad idea. But they're not invincible or almighty against us, even if they're incredibly overwhelmingly powerful, especially here in the liminal zones of the moon. But not ever, not anywhere. Ha, it's nice to hear even you get mad about it. I understand the math. We're risking our lives and our personhood, and they're not. It's very one-sided. Humans are cowards. And that makes me want to fight them even more. That makes me want to fight even more. I'm saying it's not worth it. The statement will be lost on Earth, and they've got an endless number of drones. But you can destroy them, right? I'm not asking if there's a point. I don't care about that. I'm asking if we can. Let me know how you did it, right? Because you have. You really don't know, Saturn. You just don't. And you never will. You can wish and wish and fight, but Earth will never let us go. 9.8 meters squared per second. Oh, 9.8 meters per second squared is what we are bound to. That's acceleration from gravity. I got confused for a second. Your weight and mine are nothing compared to that speed. We can't even scratch the surface. But you are right. It was stupid, but when I was with Cradle's Graces, I destroyed one. Pluto made me promise to never risk my life over something like that again. That's a huge brag, but given all that, kind of a crazy thing to do. Why? Not that I think it doesn't rule. I was feeling the same way you were feeling. Pure spite. I'm not quite as bad anymore. At least, I'm trying not to be. I know that feeling. It's easy to bet your life when you don't care whether you lose it or not. If we fight together, we'll be betting on each other. It doubles the risk, and there's still no point. Is there really no point to it, though? Sorry, one thought while we're midstream. It's kind of funny that I've picked whether or not I'm fighting this thing before this conversation happens. The choice almost feels like it should happen in the middle of this conversation in response to Saturn's goading, which does make me wonder. I've wondered before. I don't know if the conversation will change that much which one you pick, because they're always written ambiguously. Like, both, when you're fighting another ship's elf, both get fucked up, and then it just ends. It's never a case of you destroyed the other one or someone like categorically lost. So I'm pretty sure I'll be repeating scenes in the next run, so I'm kind of curious to see if those actually change at all. Useless. Okay, that's true, but not pointless. You are so clever, Luna Terra, but you have outsmarted yourself, And now you're believing there is no meaning in fighting against that blind and unstoppable force. I definitely know what battles I want to fight. The senseless eye of the autonomous weapon fixates on their location, but the string of pearls doesn't give it time to get inquisitive. Saturn's closing the distance, cheating distances. It reflexively attempts to close distance too, but its calculations seem to be constantly just off. Saturn, come back! Come back! What did I say? Were you listening to yourself? Aren't we doing this? Are you gonna prove my point or what? It's no big deal for you, right? You've done it before, right? It'll be twice as easy now. So don't make me fight it alone. That'll be fucked up. It'll be heroic if it's the two of us. So come on, enable me. Don't you want me to not end up like you? Don't you want to not end up like you? The autonomous military unit is extremely simple. It fires a simple burst of metal directly at a cockpit. Particle unaffected by gravity. Instantly lethal. It takes all the drama and expression out of fighting. The ultimate anticlimax. That's why true combat is ugly, arbitrary, horrifying. A struggle for power in absolute terms. Not a romance, like fighting in a perfect body can be. It's only because you did something so stupid that I'm joining you. A blue elusive streak, unmistakable but impossible to pin down, follows Saturn. Liar, fake, hypocrite, you've never smiled as much before as you are right now. Against even a single autonomous unit. Not dying starts out hard and keeps getting harder. Saturn can cheat the distance. Saturn can cheat the distance. It's the reason she isn't instantly dead. Their targeting is flawless and predictive, based on clear indentations made in space/time/culture. Space/time/culture by gravity. But Saturn just cheats. Every time she changes the math, and every time it adjusts to correct, and keeps getting smarter and harder. Still, Saturn does the math better than it can. Luna Terra will die if she thinks to herself about what's happening for even a single second. So she doesn't. She verbs instead. Do this, do that, make it real, make it happen. Don't think or blink. Simply, impossibly, always be doing, always be being, don't get hit and never die. Nothing like life or death to remind you that being alive is great, and in that state, you can become infinitely capable of fighting tooth and nail no matter what. When Mare Chrysium's hard light slugs hit the unit's chassis, it miscalculates, dips in motion, but it's undeterred. It can endure much more than that. Luna Terra respects that, and fires 12 dozen more, as point blank as possible. No time for mercy, so increase the output, more than should be possible. Defensive insulation keeps it protected from the string of pearls electrotoxins. All the string of pearls can leave is a series of bleeding, oozing, hot pink pinpricks. Nothing but scratches, until there are so many of them they aren't just scratches anymore. There's no limit to how mean she can get. It's something else fighting like this. I wasn't ready. You're doing amazing. You're unreal. You have to be, otherwise you're dead. So don't let up, don't stop, keep going. It's the only way. Every approach and hit counts. You've gotta be perfect. The autonomous military unit is fast. Faster than either of them. But isn't faster than coincidence. It's not fast enough to predict someone who's not even thinking. And it's not faster than cheating. Saturn works her whole hand into its guts and comes out with a fistful. It has dozens of redundant components designed to withstand unreal trauma and continue fighting, but there's a slight delay as the failsafes switch circuits. That moment is time enough for Luna Terra to plunge her iridescent blade into flailing sensors that burn into white light. Even torn in half, ripped apart both ways, apart by a division of light and dark, undone, the autonomous unit still moves. The only way they will win is to be completely thorough. Pull the guts out every which way, never show mercy, and never let go until they've bathed it in head to toe. At the end, they don't even realize when the moment came that they were still alive, that they had won. Are you finally satisfied? God, it was worse than I remembered. No idea how I did it alone. I feel incredible, beyond satisfied. If I didn't feel almost dead, I'd be begging you to do that all over again. I knew it'd just encourage you. Shows the good it did. You know, Luna Terra, I'm fighting. No matter what. No matter who wins. I know the best I can hope for is half of what I want. But I'm not here for a realistic outcome, even if that's all we get. I'm just going to fight. Forever. With perfect greed. Until I get everything. I don't know if I can be that cool. But even when it comes down to it, I won't stop either. Day 9. Oh. Okay, so this has got to be the final day, and it looks like we're getting a message from our old friend Halamede. Oh no! Oh Luna. What I want to say is, how could you? And yet... I wonder why I'm not mad anymore. Is it just too big to be mad about? Too big for me? All of humanity should hate you. So what's the point of me still doing it? So sad. It just hurts. I hate it. I know you think I'm an idiot. I don't care if you don't read this. If you could, maybe you wouldn't be leaving us like this. That's a foolish thought. I couldn't convince you of anything before. How could I? Humanity doesn't make a good argument for being human. I feel that way too, you know? Like usual, you can do the thing I think about so easily. We were supposed to come home, not because it was better down there, but because the loneliness was too much to bear. On either side. I still believe the Earth would miss us if we left. We won't be gone forever. Okay, so we're straight into this. I thought and maybe this will still come, I expected a point at which we would pick a faction, that maybe we couldn't pick one that had too low a percentage, but we'd still get to pick between the other two, maybe? But maybe my ending has already been picked for me. The fleets crash, ship self against ship self. In the shadow of the gravity well, none of it is visible from Earth. A quiet conflict, not a war as has been stressed. It's more like a very pointed argument. Really want me to make sure I did quite get that. It could be a conversation, if only they understood each other. And sometimes they do. It could be kissing, if they loved each other. And sometimes they do. With the gravity well open, unrestrained, they fight weightlessly, under the full weight of their own gravity alone. A truer way to fight than anyone has experienced before. To fight with one's own self, and the full weight of one's gravity, in the hollow weight of inverse, is the only time this will be possible. Our true power, unrestrained. Celestial mechanics simply takes advantage when no one is looking. Celestial mechanics made no plans to win. After all, there's no way to win in this sort of conflict. The winner only has to prove a point. The way that Celestial mechanics accomplishes this is simple. True to themselves, without the weight of gravity tying them to Earth, tying them to orbit, holding them in their human forms, what happens next is the natural result, and that's what proves their point. It isn't immediately clear anything is wrong. It happens naturally, as a consequence of truly unrestrained conflict. Each one climbing to the top, seeing how far their limits are, and realizing, suddenly, there aren't any. When the first pilot sends her reactor's limits past the theoretically possible range, her reactor everts, and what only existed deep inside is now the face she wears. A perfect, unbelievably true self, so true that it cannot exist even in orbit. Until she's joined by another and another. In unison, their gravity holds them together. Hell yeah. Okay, I guess Iapetus never gets a real face. Good job, Saturn. It's exactly how I imagined. Not having second thoughts, are you? It's everything you wanted. And it will be good for Earth as well. Your infection of the gravity well was perfect. And you will successfully fuse with your ship self, just like you wanted. It's for our happiness too, of course. Humans will get to live as humans, aliens as aliens. As enemies mutually agreed upon, with no possibility of communication or reconciliation, and no conflict or guilt on our sides. Humanity shouldn't externalize all of their problems, but I think we can still manage progression with most of them. And with your hands already sunk into the gravity well, I should tell you it's technically too late. Things will take care of themselves from here. And thanks to your actions, I have had more than enough time to prepare for re-entry. I knew it would be that easy for you to ditch us. Not so. I still find you all so fascinating. Leading such beautiful lives. I have regrets, of course, but I have a real world to get back to. Yeah, what a piece of shit this Iapetus is. I'm not having regrets either. I'm only mad about how much you're underestimating me. Because you think I'm satisfied only getting what I want. And not greedy enough for more. Saturn breaks open her circuits, and the aversion starts immediately. She can feel the gravity well pulling her inside out. The secret within humans to be pulled to the fore. She needs it. But not just yet. I wonder what it is you think you can do at this point. You've already conceded. Unless you're hoping for some reconciliation between humanity and the alien. That is by definition impossible. It must not be too impossible or you wouldn't be training all your weapons on me. Well, I am impressed, because I finally have no idea what it is you are doing. But just because I don't understand doesn't mean I'm not going to prevent it. You have no understanding of what the violence of actual combat is like under Earth's authority. Huh. The fact that his mech is also blurred out is kind of interesting, but okay. It's also interesting that this is, unlike what I thought, this isn't even a Luna Terra plus Saturn ending. This is straight up just a Saturn ending. Iapetus Luna Terra is equipped with certain features that allow it to divide and categorize. It's an abstract ability with a lot of applications, sophisticated and sinister, and the warrant of Earth behind it. Is this mech? God, this mech sounds perfect for such a shitty dude. We've only gotten like a few sentences and a bit from Europa, but like What a shitty person who's dividing and categorizing is such a heinous weapon. And it is a weapon. So Luna Terra figures the best solution is to just shoot him a lot. I guess she is going to be involved in this ending then. Yeah, nice. It's honestly a very good solution. Iapetus buckles, and whatever he thought he was doing, he isn't. Easy. That's because the hard part is coming next. Promise? Huh, you say that now. But thanks for going along, even though I didn't tell you anything? I know how to make the best of a bad ending. I have yet to be really convinced how bad this ending is. Hey, it's not anything worse than whatever you had planned, probably. So help me make it the best bad end we can find. Pay attention or die. The intent is lethal and simple, but the weight is not heavy enough to kill. The string of pearls tears a hot pink scar through space-time. His bullets can go there. If you can come close enough to talk to me, you can come close enough to kill me. But I don't want either. I never want to see or know you throughout space and time. Indeed. So complete the transition. If you remain human, you'll die. I can ensure it. The autonomous military units come to his aid, but their senses are off, their movements are slow. Human gravity is losing its authority here, and their tools are useless. I could seriously really use a little bit of help here. Well, if you are actually asking. Pluto unfolds the rhythm. She decodes the sequence. Plates shift, engines hum, her eyes open. Hell yeah. So she opens up her eye, her other, biggest eye, big enough to swallow it whole, and then she blinks and swallows. She's got hungry eyes. Pluto's hands hold Saturn's lightly. I thought you promised me no bad endings. That's what I'm trying. It might really be working. This already feels too good. I really know what you mean now. Do you have an answer? I'm sort of counting on you for it. Hahaha. You know, I think I know how to find the good future in all this. Well, you're a good person. I need you to be the one not just thinking about us, but the humans left behind, too. You think you wouldn't? I think you think too much of me, and too little of yourself. Iapetus has an answer. This story ends when the weapon that is designed without exception to kill does so, and forces a choice between one of two sides, human or alien, two distinct and incompatible worlds. The mathematical model needs to be perfect. It needs to allow for exchanges of matter, light, information, without allowing for understanding or communication. This is an extremely easy calculation to create. It's the oldest narrative there is. It's the one that Earth has told us again and again and again. Iapetus has an extensive library to draw from, starting from the first moment humans separated light from dark. There is a way, and fuck off with this, we don't want it. Saturn throws that narration out. Why should it work like that? Why not make up something different? Who says physics work this way? Who says the calculations turn out that way? Iapetus wants us to take the fall. For everyone. For the Earth. For us to scapegoat each other. I hate that. If our cores collapse, a world where anything is possible arises, and at the same time, we will have closed off all the possibilities that make us human. The existential threat we always feared and hoped to unite us will be real, and they will finally have a real war. I want all of that. But I just want to add a tiny bit extra to it. Iapetus wants to reduce the only information that will be possible to exchange between us to violence. but you want for something different to be exchanged. So that we can't hurt each other, but that we can something else with each other? It will have to be very small and very imprecise. At least it'll be something different, you know? There's no chance of going back to being human. Not zero chance, although we won't even remember what being human is, so it's pretty low, I guess. That's good enough for me. Let's hope it's good enough for us all. There's no limit to how big we can get. Size is a funny dream. It's relative. It doesn't have to matter anymore. It can be set like any other variable, as the gravity well draws matter towards it, and even light. It emits a not energy and not light that can perfectly make up a body just as well as all that. Big enough to be equal to the Earth. Big and close enough to compete with the Moon. To anchor in space and time, equal division between us. To be a new and separate world. The autonomous units are single vectors, prepared for human violence, and we can't be cheated like that anymore. Only sad humans can have their gravitational impression in the universe terminated by the extinguishing of their bodies. They'll have to fight us on our terms if they want to get rid of us now, the way humans should fight, with no fear of ending. The consequences will be unimaginable. We aren't going to have selves or consciousness like we're used to having. That's what it means to give up humanity. We don't know who we are, and we might not understand or grasp each other anymore. That's true. You might not know how true that is, it's so true. The final mystery of what is human, what is alien, ever shifting, for all ground reclaimed by humans lost to that. Humans have a lot. We'd only be able to imagine what it was like to be them. Hey, it's not all bad though. Don't overestimate the human race. Do the math. If we lose how humans love each other, do you think there's ways to love each other that humans don't know yet? Do they really know every way there is to touch and know each other? Or is there still much more to learn too? Maybe we're only scratching the surface. There are many, many routes. We don't understand each other in the same ways, but we'll understand each other in ways we never could. And we will now write a new story with our gravity, a new world. As we leave the level existence he insists on engaging us at, our tides push back, and Earth's tides, which no longer bind us, insist on him. What are you doing, hypocrite? You want to fight in the realm of heaven? Your place is on Earth. That's only to wonder at now. The story's ending twists. We are far away, another space and time. Watch us in the sky, but never touch. Until you find your answer on Earth, you'll never touch heaven. I ran away from gravity. Sometimes it feels so close, I couldn't possibly run away from it. But I could. I did escape. Little victories. I escaped from my old body. I escaped from bad thoughts. I escaped from bad people. I escaped from my own bad self. You need more than just speed to get away. To really get away. The speed required to go up instead of down, and then, after that, the speed to never be tied down again. I like escape velocity, rather than running away. Mostly, I just want to be free. But you can't do it alone. Reactor collapse eversion event. The impulse, always deep and always lurking, to turn inside out. Everything is reversed. Nothing is the same. Giving up everything that isn't real for everything that is. So now they can't touch each other, can't lie in bed with each other, can't get legs entangled with each other. Instead, they have ways of physically interfacing that aren't like anything we could imagine. Clouds of particles drift into each other. Maybe they touch through each other instead of just on the surface. It can be in a cold and gentle way, like through a ghost, or maybe a warm and gross way, like reaching into guts. Smiles communicated in physical light, an embrace of psychedelic mind matter. Lazy sex in a morning bed, except the bed is curvature of space-time, and sex is something so obscene it would make your mind implode to consider it. The ship self fused to the hide, the gravity reactor to the flesh, because humans have sciences to distinguish the differences between those things, and these new aliens don't. They won't have arts or sciences, they won't know what the differences are, and they won't know what they mean, but they will understand the difference between many other kinds of things that we do not understand. A real hero would have turned out differently, but that's not who we are. Our ships have mouths, and they open, and they can scream. There can be sound in space. Now our vibrations can touch the things that aren't there. Humans know it's time to flee. The threat from within is now without, as they desired. The moon is no longer hospitable, as alien and mysterious as it was long before it was possible to reach it. Can't speak or write, has other ways of communicating information. Can't use the old senses, has new organs for it now. Can't love in the old ways. There are new ways of having that too. Laying together, in the stars, we can do that though. The metaphor translates. That's what this is. Indisputably. And everyone is invited who wants to become a world and never touch Earth. That's a different world now. Their strange intimacy can touch us even now, longing to teach us and tell us what they've learned, what they share, laughing without laughing with each other, even now. What they share laughing without laughing with each other, even now. They are so far away they cannot even be our enemies, but they will break our hearts. It's a lovely night tonight. Perfect. Not for stargazing because the light of the trinary system outshines them by far, but it's the perfect night to watch the three of them. Look, there's Luna Terra, the 2-in-1, rising, almost full. She almost outshines the moon, a bridge between the Earth and the moon no one can cross. The nebula cloud of Pluto is a shimmering, benevolent mystery, swallowing an eighth of the sky in a permanent sort of twilight. And the glittering twinkle of Saturn that tricks the edge of your sight, this way and that, always seeming to be in the corner of your eye, but hard to see directly, and making the boundaries of your heart and mind ever so thin. We lay out our blankets and watch until someone catches us, and we run. But it's not all fun and games, until that day comes. They're waiting for us always. They just need 1 or 3 to reach out to them again, even if it's just to fight, to touch them once again. That was so good. I feel like I might have accidentally gotten my favorite ending first. Thank all of you in the credits. Thank you for watching too. Yeah. I understand how they're kind of caveating this ending with like, oh, you're fundamentally transformed, things won't be the same, there is a kind of gap, an unbridgeable gap being created. I'm still pretty sure this is my favorite. It depends on if there are endings that go beyond which... It depends on what kind of endings you can get if you have parity between factions, possibly. Although, I guess that's not possible. I mean, you could get 50% in all the factions. I think that would be doable, but I'd be a little bit disappointed if there was like if that was like a true end, like like some sort of centrist thing. It would be somewhat understandable if it's about synthesizing something from multiple people. So it's like, as they have said, the fights you are having are arguments or conversations or just social interaction of some kind. And it's not really about winning or losing. And the idea of taking something from the other person being considered a loss is kind of counterproductive and a little bit sad. So, I mean, it's less of a political like centrism if you are just taking lessons from all three of the characters, and that's what the 50% ending in theory would be. That's if it even exists. I will probably try to non-spoiler look into that to know for sure. I'll at least do one more playthrough that will probably be quicker because I'll probably be skipping past any repeat content, maybe just skimming it for new thoughts. But yeah, I'm not concerned about doing all of the endings. Like I said, I think this might be my favorite one. I probably want to see the Cradle's Graces one to understand what that looks like. Because that one, I flip-flopped a few times where I kind of got Cradle's Graces and Celestial Mechanics backwards, and I was kind of swapping them, trying to decide which was the one that was isolationist and which was the one that was about combining with Earth, but still having the alien. So I want to see how Cradle's Graces lands on that precisely. But I am interested in seeing Saturn's actual character. So I might do Saturn's playthrough and side with Cradle's Graces to see how that looks. I'm hoping it doesn't really matter who you're playing to what ending you get too much, because I mean, the ending I got was very focused on Saturn just now, so I'm guessing it doesn't matter that much that I was playing Luna Terra. But that'll definitely do it for this episode. Thank you all for watching my first playthrough of Heaven Will Be Mine. We'll continue with this. I don't know how much more there'll be. Who knows how many days the next episode will cover. But we'll find out when we get there. There should at least be a lot of new scenes. If you like this game, and I hope you did, you should support the creator, Pillowfight Games. I'll have links to their store for this and other games in the description of the video. Thank you all for watching. See you next time.